Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today, as you can see, we are in the Airbus Beluga finally, as IniBuilds have finally released it yesterday afternoon, and I had a chance to familiarize myself with her yesterday and everything that she has to offer. And as you can see from this single shot alone, IniBuilds have really done a great job with the aircraft, and they've really produced something amazing here, especially with this scenery that we're just currently using. This is Harden in Wales by $0 Payware, and this is the BSL, I want to call it, the Beluga station line, and this is obviously where the Beluga would normally park into this building here, and then it would be able to open its nose and get its cargo for its routing of the day. And I decided to replicate this today just to give you an idea of what this aircraft has to offer. It's also my first live stream on the channel, so I'm expecting maybe a few hiccups here and there and maybe a few mistakes, and most of the alerting and stuff like that on the system of like live streaming is still kind of in the works at the moment, so a few things are limited at the moment. But if you have stopped by just to check out the aircraft, I do appreciate it. Hope you are all well. And yeah, today we're gonna fly the Beluga from Harden here in Wales. We're gonna fly it to Hamburg. It's about an hour and 25 minutes, our routing today, and I just thought it would be something simple to do, and it would basically give me a chance to show everyone what this aircraft can do. So we're just gonna jump straight into it. As you can see, we are parked in the station line here, so if I was just to pan into the building and bring us a bit closer, you can see that the nose is actually perfectly hooked up in the warehouse here. And for anyone who doesn't know this, you're actually able to control this with SAM. So if you were to go to SAM and then go to airport operations, there is a control section which allows you to open either the standard doors or the XL. Obviously we are using the standard, and as you can see, the doors would open like they would in real life, and when the aircraft is assembled in place, you'd be able to close the doors, and the doors would close as they would to make sure the aircraft is secure. I believe the reason why they do this now is to prevent high winds, especially in Wales. I can imagine there's lots of mountainous areas and lots of updrafts at different times of the years, and I'm sure that the Beluga itself probably has a better kind of loading system in here as well, as it's covered by this entire building. And obviously the nose itself, I do believe, can't be opened above winds of 30 to 35 knots. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's what the documentation did say, so we probably will go off that. Today the winds are not too bad in Harden. They're about roughly, I'm just looking at Hamburg, the winds are 3009, so the winds are around 10 knots for Hamburg, and in Harden today it's around 6 knots at we've got a heading actually of 340 at 6, so we probably will be taking off runway 4 today. And yeah, the weather's looking okay. We just need to sort out our payload, of course, for today, which is what we're going to do in a moment. We need to decide what we're going to take, and I think today we're going to take an Airbus fuselage from Harden here, and we'll basically take that over to Hamburg. And we also have something the other side of Hamburg waiting for us that not many people probably don't know about, as this building here has only been replicated in this scenery by $0 Payware. As you can see, we can probably just zoom out and give you an idea. This entire aerodrome is obviously modelled, and the Beluga would normally park in this structure here. Then you have the other side, you have a few other buildings and a few construction lines and few buildings as well in the surroundings around the airport. But overall, $0 Payware have done a really good job. We are on the edge of the ortho limit here, just to us being so north, so eventually we will probably pick up the ortho scenery for south. I didn't think that it would pick up central, but probably looking at it now, it probably would have been a good idea, but again, that will probably be another thing for the future. But we will probably set up now just to get ready. The aim of this video is just to kind of keep it short, nothing too long, just to give an idea to you guys how you like the live streaming aspect of things, and maybe it could be something useful for the future as well. So we're going to quickly jump into the cockpit. As you can see, anyone who's familiar with the A300 cockpit, it's very similar. There are a few changes, of course, a few gauges missing here, and a few changes to the overhead itself. In the back, obviously, we have our pressurized door, which would keep us in place. I'm just going to double check that the sound is working, and I believe it is. It should be good. So down here we have the main door, which obviously allows you to enter and leave the aircraft, as there is no side door on the Beluga. So if we were to click the handle, the door would open as such, and it would allow us to leave. Above us here is the ladder to the actual cargo bay itself. So if we were to open up here, you have the entire cargo bay up here, and IniBuilds have just done an absolutely phenomenal job with this. Just the immersiveness of standing in here, even just from a camera perspective, you can tell the amount of space that this aircraft actually holds in real life and what it's able to carry on its tremendous routes around the world. Especially reading the Beluga route documentation PDF that was provided, there was a lot of information in there about certain routes that were obviously completed for certain things, such as a painting being delivered from Paris itself to Japan. Just many cool routes that not many people, I don't think, were aware of. So something definitely to have a look at if you get a moment to have a read of it. As you can see here, we have the main side panel of the aircraft, and all of these buttons here do operate on their own manner. So if we were to click here, I believe actually that one doesn't work. It does say door operation, but we'll get to that in a second. The lights there will obviously illuminate the entire aircraft itself, and they will turn on, I believe, the spotlights here. And of course we have the door in front of us, which we can open here just by this button here. Just got to release the latch and then lift it like that, and look at that, the door just opens on its own. Now you probably could just be sitting, or sorry, you probably could just be standing here watching this do its thing, but roughly I believe the Beluga door takes about 2.5 minutes on average to open up. As you can imagine, it's a lot of weight to hold just by these two hydraulics here. It's pretty impressive technology, especially for its age and how it's made. A lot of cool little things about the Beluga that I really love, that just makes it stand out, aside from its size, of course. But as that starts to do its thing, we'll probably decide what we're going to bring into the cargo bay today. I think we did decide that it was going to be a fuselage, so we can probably head back downstairs, excuse the ladder, head back on through here, and what we'll do is we'll quickly start up the plane. So turn the batteries on, we'll connect the external power through the ground services menu. Navigation is good on there. Now we can start up the main aircraft itself. Just make sure that everything is all good on the overhead, which it seems to be. We can even switch those to nav and leave the IRS to align while we fiddle around with our weight. So we will request the loader, and as you can see on this aircraft, you're actually given an option in the Beluga. So you can request the loader. Before we request it, we need to choose what we're going to have on our flight. So as you can see, the options are Airbus fuselage, you have Airbus wings, a helicopter, a space station, you can also take random cargo as well, and you can also take an A380 tail. And the cool thing is they all come with different textures and liveries, and you can see all of these online on the IniBuilds forum. They have loads of different customizable ones, and it's pretty cool what IniBuilds have done. They've really taken it to another level. A lot of people thought that this was just going to be a cargo plane and it wasn't really going to be anything immersive to it, like from a cool kind of aspect, but what you're about to see is definitely answers that question. So we're going to choose the Airbus fuselage today, which is 9,094 kilos, and then all we have to do is request the loader. Now the door is still loading. As you can see, the loader has now spawned in front of us, and that is now going to get into place. And as that does get into place, the loader will then obviously lift to the correct height of the cargo bay of the aircraft, and then it will commence its procedure where it actually locks onto the aircraft, and then I will be able to tell the loader when I would like the fuselage loaded. So it gives us a few minutes, because obviously the door needs to open and the loader will take a few minutes to get into position, so we can quickly set up for our flight today. Also going to show you something that you can do with SimBrief that most people don't know that you can do it, but something pretty cool, and we're just going to finish that now. Obviously the cargo on this aircraft you would obviously have to input manually yourself, because the cargo is going to change each time depending on if you're having a fuselage or if you're having a helicopter or if you're having anything like that. It could all be completely different. So obviously we're going for the fuselage, so we're going to quickly insert that into SimBrief. I know you won't be able to see that right now, but I'm just going to make sure that that is okay, and make sure that's 9.1, and then we can generate our flight plan for today. I can hear that the loader is now starting to launch, which it is. So it has got into place, and now it will raise in height, of course, to the same level, and then it will bring the loader forward even more, and that's when obviously the aircraft will be connected then. So our SimBrief profile has just been done, and as you can see here we have our main FMC that we would normally use all the time, and we could be sat here setting everything up. But now with IniBuilds they've actually added this system here, which is the I believe it's like a data link computer. I've got the exact name, I think it's an IDC, and it has the frequency, so it has your TCAS and all your frequencies and ILS all in one, and it also now has an ACARS menu here as well. As you can see, you can put in your SimBrief username on the right, and then once you've generated a flight plan in SimBrief with whatever route you're going to do, you can then press request company data, give it a second, we'll clear that message, and there we go, company route uplink is done. And as you can see, we've got our routing in there. It's given us a cost index, it's given us a cruise flight level of 230, and we can now align the IRS, and pretty much everything has been done for that now. That's pretty much all you need to worry about. I'm just going to quickly check that the weights are correct. So we will have to do that next, and again something different in this aircraft, so we're going to have to go to the load sheet, and you can see that an Airbus fuselage is obviously in there. Our zero fuel weight is 99.1, and the fuel on board today, according to SimBrief, it would like us to be 17.6, so we will load that in now. This aircraft is still kind of a work in progress when it comes to fuel, especially for me. I'm still learning the quirks of it and what it actually requires to get on the long distances. I know some people are probably flying this around the world right now, but of course the heavier it is, the shorter in range it is as well, due to the amount of drag. But it does have very powerful engines, and it is a very cool aircraft in itself. So let's load the payload and fuel. And now that that is all good, we can send it to the takeoff performance page, and we should be able just to request the FMC data, which sometimes it doesn't work, so I'll quickly go and type this in manually. Echo Golf November Romeo runway 4. We will be able to do an ATIS request. If you have Active Sky, you can just click ATIS request, and as you can see it will get the ATIS, read it, and it will insert it into the conditions page on its own, so you don't need to worry about anything. Now, in the configuration it wants us either 15. I'm a little bit worried about our weight today, and the runway is quite short, and I don't really want to mess up the video, so I may play it safe and do 15 and 15 degrees config for departure. Make sure the aircon is standard and the flex is standard, and then we can compute that, and let's see what kind of V-speed it gives us. So it's got V1 132, rotate 134, and V2 136. So it is fairly low, but we are still going to do that just to play it safe anyway. So as you can see, the loader is in place in itself now. So what we'll do is we'll quickly just type in our weights, which we forgot to do sneakily, so we'll just go back to the ground ops page, go to the load sheet, and we'll just type that in. So our zero fuel weight today is 99.1 tons, and then our block fuel is 17.6, of course. And there we go. And now the takeoff gross weight is there. And there we go. We should be all set up now. Just a few things we just need to do. So we need to obviously go in here and set our departure, which is off runway 4. And it is the Wrexham 5 departure that we're taking today. It's a bit of an interesting departure, I won't lie, but we'll get round to that in a second. Now that that's all done, we can quickly go back to the takeoff performance page. Now, this aircraft, like I said, is very different. It has a range of different things in it. For example, it's using A310 engines, I believe. It's using an A310 FMC. The actual aircraft itself thinks it's an A310 or handles like an A310. Obviously the aircraft itself is not, it's a Beluga. And it has many different performance, well, it actually has many performance differences compared to the other two, of course, due to the way that it operates, and there are certain things that you need to do to make sure you get your V-speeds and everything correct for departure, which is what we're going to do now. Now, most people would do this incorrectly, and they would send this data to the FMC, and they would wait for the FMC to give them a V-speed. Now, in real life, it doesn't work like that. In real life, you would send, well, in real life it wouldn't work this way either, but normally what would happen is you would retrieve the data as such, and then the load master, who would be the third person on board in the cockpit, he would basically have some, I guess you could call it a manual with all the limitations, and they would basically convert the number of the weight ratio, I presume, of how heavy the aircraft is, and then he will actually fill out the V-speeds in this takeoff card right here, which is what they use in real life. So this is all of our information for today. So flaps 15, 15, we're going to flex to 60, those are our V-speeds, and it'll also give you the same for landing as well. It gives you the VREF and the V-approach, so compress takeoff and leave that. If you really want to, just to save a headache, you can actually copy the V-speed and you can just put it in the FMC if it really helps you. I mean, then obviously you know that it is the correct one. I'm not sure if they do it that way. I think normally they do just stick to the card. But apart from that, that's all good. And what we'll do is we'll just request the wind data, which will take a second. And now we can load the fuselage, which is above us. So we'll go to the ground ops menu. We'll go to... Actually, that's the wrong page. We need to go to... No, we are in the right page, sorry. We need to go to ground services, loader, and then you see here, we obviously have an option to remove the loader, but you see that loader's green now, so it's obviously in place, ready to load the cargo onto the aircraft. And when I press load, I'll take you now through the back and you can see it for yourselves. You would obviously climb up the ladder again to the huge warehouse space we have upstairs, of course. And a fun fact for you, this aircraft of course is not pressurized. That's why you have a very big, hefty, bulky door on the cockpit to keep the cockpit as the only thing that's pressured. The only thing pressured in the aircraft. And I believe this is just because of the weight of the aircraft itself. It's a very big aircraft, and if it was to become pressurized, something were to happen, it, you know, would potentially implode, so it wouldn't necessarily be a good thing. That's why this aircraft also only operates on one pack. It has the option of 2 packs, but mainly this aircraft only needs 1, just due to the tiny space that it actually needs itself. But here we go, we are bringing the fuselage onto the aircraft. And it's really cool for IniBuilds to add all of this with the aircraft. This is not an add-on at all, this all comes with the Beluga, all inclusive, the loader, this scenery included as well. IniBuilds just have provided such a great job with this aircraft, honestly it's superb. I recommend anyone who doesn't own this to go and try it for themselves. Even if you have the A300, you do get it 25% discount, so I think in British pounds, I think you can get it for about £32 brand new, which is pretty insane. £32 for a brand new aircraft of this immersiveness. It's crazy. They give people like PMDG a run for their money, that's for sure. But that's it. Everything is loaded in on the aircraft now. Everything is in place, as you can see. It's in place. So what we'll do is we'll remove the loader. Sometimes I like to press it a few times because yesterday I was having a bit of a fight with it, but I can hear that it's moving now. And we will quickly get ready for our departure. So everything is set in there, so we can just start the APU. Turn the window heat on. And we'll also make sure the oxygen is all good as well. And we'll turn the fuel pumps on in just a second. Last thing I just want to do before we take off is make sure that our flex temp is set to 60 today. It's very different how the plane operates on this. Normally they recommend for you to obviously use flex or toga, and then to actually manually correct this yourself. So after takeoff you would choose climb, then cruise, then you can put it into auto and it will obviously do its thing. But again, the performance of this aircraft is very different, so sometimes it needs you to step in and do some of the features yourself, which is not too bad. It's kind of more hands-on really. Also, something else to note on this aircraft, the VNAV does not work whatsoever, because obviously again the VNAV profile is of an A310 and it would not work on this aircraft. Airbus would have had to reinvest and complete an entire new design for a VNAV profile on the Beluga, and it just wasn't cost effective whatsoever, and that's why it's just more convenient, I guess, for them just to rely on flight level change for departure and then using vertical speed for descent. I guess you could use flight level change as well, but obviously the drag on the aircraft itself can be much more intense, so you obviously do have to factor that in as well. So we will set our speed up to about 180. We did fly this out to Toulouse yesterday and we did completely rocket out to Toulouse. It does have a very good power ratio, or thrust to power ratio. So flight level 120, and the APU I forgot to turn on, but we'll turn it on now. Probably disconnect all the fuel tanks, and we'll just make sure that the door is closing, because the door normally does close on its own. As you can see, we have the Airbus here, Vulcan de-renderizing that texture as always. Thank you, Vulcan. And yeah, we've just got to wait a few seconds now for the nose. The nose is pretty quick on its descent, more than when it's opening, I presume, just because of the weight giving it a helping hand there. We're pretty happy with that now though, so I'll probably go ahead and close the hatch and we can get ready to go now. So we're going to lock our... oh, there's a wall there. We're going to lock our pressurized door. I've got to say, IniBuilds and their doors, they got the sound spot on. All of them are crazy. And we will see when the service hatch door and the main cargo door... oh, actually, that's a good point. We would have taken off and we didn't even close the service hatch door, so that would have been very good. And there we go. Okay, that's all good. Quickly get back in the cockpit. Close our door. And now we can start setting up to get on out of here. So navigation lights are good. External power we can probably switch off because we're now on the APU power. The loader has almost gone. External power we can disconnect, probably disconnect the chocks as well. We're going to fly Beluga 144 Charlie today. We could probably use Bremen maybe as an alternative. Okay, so right, we're all good there. There's a lot of traffic, it looks like, on the ground at Harden at the moment. I decided to do this just offline today. As you'll see, this plane there's a lot to do, and maybe it's just easier if we just focus on the plane today. I'm sure one day I can probably get around to setting up that sim as well and doing something simultaneously. Let's do it to 1026. Okay, so aircraft is looking good. We're gonna request better pushback if it wants to let me request it. There we go. That's a bit weird, this one, so we're gonna have to bring it here, I think, and then I'll bring it round to around there.
Ground to cockpit. Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you're ready. Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
Okay, so the tow is driving up. APU is on. All ground services have been disconnected. The loader is gone. The cargo door has closed. The TCAS is on standby, which is fine for the moment. The wind data was retrieved, which is good. We can insert that wind data. It's really handy how IniBuilds have provided that now. It just takes you so much less time to worry about setting up the aircraft, and just kind of gets you more focused on the other aspects at hand. But here we go. So what we can also do is, because the aircraft itself, as you can see, is very loud. Sorry about that.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
We will now open the door. And that's now going to open. So, you can also just check our ATIS as well. Actually, I think we can depart. Yeah, there we go. So you can just update the arrival.
So
like
connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Okay, so we're gonna start the clock, and we're gonna release our parking brake.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
And the beacon light is coming on, and here we go. Let's start our way to Hamburg. The door is open. As you can see, it's completely open now. So in real life, they would do it this way. And obviously, once I'm out, I can go back to Sam. I could just close those doors, and there we go. Start the sequence again. And even from the cockpit, you should be able to see the door coming in now. Now, IniBuilds have modelled, or should I say $0 payware have modelled an ST and an XL door for... Oh, we've got a pushback guy as well. Wait, we've got a marshaller. Oh, he's not happy. He wants me to come back. I'm not coming back, sorry. But the actual door itself behind him, the ST obviously is modelled, but it actually has an XL modelled door as well, which maybe hints future plans for IniBuilds if they decide to go down that route and maybe bring out an XL as well. That would be very cool, especially with the liveries that they've made for the XL on the ST. It's all very confusing, but a lot of cool funky things to get through. But we could probably start our engines now, so make sure that the APU bleed is on, and it is. You can hear the pressure good, and we will now go to ignition A on the starts, and let's start number 2. Engine is starting, so we'll start number 2. 21, there it is. What a sight. This marshaller really does not want me to go today. He just keeps teleporting and randomly coming in front of us. Dude, I'm sorry, but it's not going to end well if you stay.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Right, okay, parking brake is set.
Disconnecting toes. Stand by.
We'll now start number 1. Looks like number 2 is stable, 23.6 N1. The N2 really does rise fairly quickly on this plane. 15, 18, it's going to get a little bit sluggish around now, and wait for it to get to around 21, and there we go, we have it, start number 1. Pressure is rising.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Thank you, there we go. I kind of panicked and thought what was going on there, but no, it's all good. Okay, 23.6. We have 2 good starts, and we can now switch the engine start back to off. Some people actually forget to do this, and if you leave it on start A or B, the actual aircraft itself will continue giving an excessive bleed of air to the engines instead of the aircraft. So you could actually suffer a depressurization. So it's very important that you switch that back to off, and you'll actually hear that the pressure will then restabilize in the cockpit itself. We can now turn the APU bleed off, and we'll turn the APU off. We'll now turn our taxi light on, even though we're blinding Sir outside. Water brake max, for some reason that's not working. Maybe it's just me doing something silly. I'm not sure if they actually use it the same way. We said that we're going to use flaps 15 for departure, which we have. gate on. We're testing the speed brakes there, so let's go full left and then full right, pull up, full down, neutral, although it's full right, full left, neutral. And there we go. So we're pretty much all ready to go. Just going to double check everything is good, and it looks like it is. So let's get ready to go. Let's release the brake. Put a bit of power in. Now yesterday I was really light. I didn't have anything at all. I just took an Airbus A380 tail. And someone made a very good notice of that actually, saying that potentially the A380 tail that comes as cargo could potentially be the A380 tail from IniBuilds project itself, of their own A380, because the model of the tail is superb and it comes in so many liveries, so it would make you think if maybe it came directly from themselves. Something definitely to keep an eye out for. So we are taking off runway 4, which, as you can see, we have 4 down there, 2 there. So we're going to put a bit of brake because this aircraft really loves to go for a wander. Make a left turn. We've got an interesting shadow in front of us, I don't know what that is. Doors are all closed. It's just pretty cool to think that if you were to just stand here very cool plane. Such a unique plane to have, especially for X-plane users, because I don't think the variation of freighters is really there. I mean, there are a few freighters obviously, but when it comes to the likes of P3D and stuff, they have a lot of freighters that they can enjoy. Although SSG have released the 748, the V2, and that was significantly better than V1, and I know that they're constantly updating it, and I believe a new version of that plane is coming out soon, I remember reading somewhere. So that's definitely something to maybe stay alert for, maybe to do a video in. Right, but we're here now, so we're gonna make our turn. I'm really having a fight with the brakes, as you can see, but I'm not really too fast. Make a left turn here. And we're now going to make the left turn. Trying to get this right so we don't overshoot it, but we should be okay. Oh, maybe we did overshoot it just a little bit. And I don't really want to take up too much runway either, although we are apparently not going to need much. Right, okay, let's set the parking brake. Wow, we're really getting a workout today. Water brake is now working. Okay, so that's something interesting. Takeoff can go there. And it's giving me... that's fine, so it should be on navigation. And then we'll go to the tune page and make sure that the TCAS is set to TARA. We can probably turn on the terrain radar. And I believe we're all ready to go. The only thing I didn't do, and I always forget to do before I take off, is to check the takeoff trim, which is 0.9. So we're going to quickly set that there. It's barely visible, because again, Vulcan, thank you. Okay, we're ready. Let's release the brake. bring the heading select to here, and to be honest, we are offline today. It wants us to go like left out, but we can probably route direct over to our first waypoint. Instead of taking the fixed vector 440, we can literally just direct to Nanty, and then that will take us out, so we will probably stick with that. Okay, lights are on, here we go, brake released. And that's Toga. Power is set. Just about anyway. Still rising. There we go, thrust set. Wow, we're really getting thrown around with the winds. 100 knots. V1. Rotate. That's positive climb, gear up. Keep that speed between 160 180 for the departure. Straight away, passing 1,000 feet, we can now activate the climb thrust, and we can continue to bring that nose down. We can even bring that heading to 070. We'll also follow it. Shot. So off we go. Continue that left turn, trying to keep it straight. We're passing about 4,000 feet now, so what we'll do is we'll select flight level change on 180, do autopilot 1, we'll let it do that left turn. What we'll do is we'll swing it round just to 090 and then bring it to direct. Go Nanty, which it is, insert, and make sure nav is now set. And we basically will do the climb in a flight level change. We can bring flaps up. Seems a bit of a cloudy day in Morden. We are fairly quick at climbing out now, so we can probably bring the flaps up, bring 250, we have icing in the range, so we'll probably bring on our anti-ice just in case, make sure that is all good. Passing 7,000, we should have set standard already now, so I'll probably bring that down to 292. Actually, we could just pull it out a bit lazy like that, there we go. Passing 10,000 feet, that's landing lights off, and the taxi light off, and we'll now wind our altimeter, our altitude to flight level 230, which is what it wants us to go to today. Which I'm not sure if that's because of our weight, because of what we're transporting today. I mean, it would make sense, we are taking a fuselage, but then again, we're not really going too far, so probably best to check the... Let's have a look, that's on the climb page, econ climb. I don't think it will tell us until we get to cruise, from what I remember. Actually, it will be on the progress page. I'll send it. There we go. So our max is flight level 3-4, our optional is 3-3, so we probably could go higher than that. I mean, considering the rate of climb as well. We will take her up to flight level 270 then. We will change that as well in the cruise flight level box. The weather is starting to clear. We probably should continue our rate of climb a bit more. Forgot to do that at flight level 100, as you can see. Ah, there you go. See? The difference between ortho and the difference with that. So yeah, we're climbing now. And we are probably just going to bring that speed up a little bit more. And afterwards we will switch it to... We will switch it to map very soon. We're just going to try and increase our speed a little bit more. Pretty simple routing out. We're just going to go direct now after Stafford to Honolulu. And then we'll continue a left turn which will take us east out towards the sea. Looking at the route, then we go through Redfern, which will take us past Amsterdam, and that's going we'll past Bremen and Oldenburg, and then come in through the northwest of Hamburg, where we will land runway 23 this evening. I'll say today because we're in the day. I just decided to do this in the day because we get to enjoy the scenery. We'll have a look at doing some night flights as well, because it's always an enjoyment to fly during the night. about 4,000 off cruise, 4.5. And we can probably turn our anti-ice off now because we're pretty much above most of the clouds, and engines are still working away. I've never really been a huge admirer of doing cargo flights, to be honest. I just always used to be more into passenger services, and ever since IniBuilds brought out the A300, initially the wow factor just provided from the plane was amazing. To think about the amount of detail that they had put into that plane, and when they announced that they were doing a Beluga, it was just kind of obvious the level that they were going to bring it out at. Even with their future development plans as well, like I was speaking earlier, the IniBuilds A380, that honestly will be a stunning aircraft to fly. The flight sim community know very well that they deserve a good A380, as it's been a very long time since we've even had like anything remotely good to an A380. There's been a few freeware projects, there's been a few things here and there, but not one developer has actually picked up on it and obviously taken the initiative and just done it. Because it would definitely sell, it would be a huge seller. It's an aircraft that isn't really just known to the flight sim community within like the cockpit kind of terms, so most people would love to really have a hands-on experience with that, because IniBuilds would probably replicate the exact same thing as the real-life features such as BTV and the onboard airport navigation system. It just would be really fun to see those type of things take into place in the aircraft. We're reaching flight level 270 now, and we've changed it to Mach. If we really wanted to, we could go to 0.7, but we may just keep it at 6.9. Our speed is good. We've got a bit of a tailwind coming from the left-hand side of the aircraft. And that should obviously turn into a crosswind when we pass Honolulu. Really stunning views around. If it was the day right now, it wouldn't be a bad day at all for flying. Okay, we're stable now, so we can now change this to cruise, and then we'll change this to auto. And now it's on cruise, but it's on auto, so it'll do everything itself. Don't need to worry anymore. We've got about 60 ME until we make our turn. I know, super unrealistic to have a wing view from a Beluga standpoint, but of course I get to show you the awesome view, even from the engine point as well. Unfortunately, I don't have ortho scenery for Germany today, but but nevertheless, we hopefully will get some scenery soon for that part of Europe. Anyone who knows, it's kind of difficult to create ortho scenery for certain parts of the world. It does take up a lot of space, so I try to prioritize the countries where obviously there's more of my interests in hand. Not that I don't fly to Germany, it's not really a place that I fly to too often, but if I can get round to making some ortho scenery for it, it would definitely be a good incentive to maybe visit there. Especially now we have the Beluga, I see myself definitely flying there much more. I know a lot of people as well are a bit on the fence about flying the Beluga. They always feel like they have to fly it into Harden, as obviously the BSL is there, the station line where you're able to do the loading and unloading inside the building, and the other airports unfortunately don't offer that. So we'll be showing something a little bit different today on the video when we land into Hamburg, something that probably will be an interest of people, something that I managed to do. So yes, I will keep that until we get closer to the airport. That's pretty much it for now. We're at flight level 270, is stable, speed is good. True air temperature right now is -20 outside, and if I wanted to, I wouldn't even be able to leave the cockpit right now. As I was explaining earlier, this door is completely pressurized, so if I was to click it, it will not open. The only door that will open is this one here, which is the Twitter, of course. Always accessible. You can really tell just from around the edges and everything that there is just a huge, tremendous amount of detail in these aircrafts. A lot of people thought that IniBuilds were just going to copy and paste the A300 cockpit and just put it in this one. And after learning so much about it in the past few days, you actually kind of see it more as a hybrid kind of aircraft more than anything, because it has so many different elements from older parts of the aircraft and then newer parts, and it's kind of combined together to kind of make one. And that's the same with the Beluga XL as well, obviously based off a A330 model, so it's able to do a bit more than this baby, but still a very, very cool design for what Airbus made at the time. So I've got a bit of water on the display there, so probably we'll start getting close to crossing. I believe we're passing over Northampton right now, or we will be, around Milton Keynes and Oxford, and then be out through past Ipswich, and again, like I was saying, we cross over through Amsterdam and then pass over Oldenburg and Bremen into Hamburg. There's a lot of traffic on the ground. There has been for the past few days, of course, at Harden, as you can imagine. But I really like what IniBuilds have done with this aircraft, and for the price that they've released it for as well, it's a very, very reasonable price for what you're getting. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it's just a brilliant value for money. Just a completely brand new aircraft for less than £35 if you already own the A300. If you don't, you can get it for £40 or £45, I believe that's how much it is, but still under £50 for a brand new aircraft, which, as you can see, it just has so much to offer within one package. It's very cool. And IniBuilds will probably capitalise on the product in the future. I know that they're bringing certain technologies that they've implemented in the Beluga to the A300, as that's something they'll want to obviously do with all of their products in the future. Really too much to worry about at the moment, as the aircraft is fairly stable. And we just need to wait until we get to Redfern, which will be our next waypoint after really Banto and Sibda. Redfern is just in the middle of the channel, so then we'll make another slight left turn, which that will shoot us further north into the Netherlands then, and then onwards to Germany. Again, like I was saying at the beginning of my video, this is my first live stream that I've decided to do on the channel. I'm very used to just kind of getting into my own way of recording videos and just uploading them when they're obviously edited and kind of uploaded that way. But recently I've been exploring the possibility of trying to bring this platform of live streaming to Twitch as well, and obviously have a dual system maybe involved, so I would have something set up in both worlds, so if someone was on Twitch and someone was on YouTube, both of them would be able to benefit the same way and would be able to receive the same content as well. There are links obviously below where you can check out more of my content if you're interested. If you are interested, why not subscribe, why not leave a like, why not have a look around and see what you think, and it'll obviously keep you updated for the future. When I upload new videos, you'll be one of the first to know through the notifications, and obviously would show your great support as well. And if you ever do want to support me, there is also a link in this description where you can donate or support me directly if you like what I'm doing. It really will help me, obviously, for the future and for what I kind of aim to do with this. Kind of a small YouTuber at the moment and not really well known within the regards of flight sim, but hopefully if I continue this kind of method of doing videos and stuff like that, and videos that you may be interested in seeing as well, because I always love hearing people's ideas. So if you have any suggestions of places where you would like to see me fly, or what you would like to see me fly, then definitely leave me a message and I'll get round to doing it, because at the end of the day this content is for you and for you to enjoy, so it would be nice to get your feedback so you can know exactly what you would like to see on the channel. So we are just approaching ATDME from Redfern, and we are not too far away. Not too far away from the coast now. The wind is fairly stable. We're getting crosswind at 24 knots, but it's not really affecting the aircraft whatsoever. Stable at 86.2 N1. We will probably have a look at the arrival when we cross over Amsterdam, which will probably be in about 5 to 10 minutes. it is, ATDME from Redfoot. And then we have Tasha with a C, not an S. So our ground speed is actually pretty good. If you can get your ground speed around 410, 415, it's pretty gracious on this aircraft. It's a nice cruise speed. Sometimes you can be really, really heavy and you won't achieve that ground speed whatsoever. You'll be much slower. The drag will be much more intense on the aircraft. I believe at full capacity this aircraft won't be able to do over 900 nautical miles, close to 1,000, so about 3 hours, 3.5 maybe, give or take. Yeah, the aircraft really does struggle with long range, and it's more of transferring big objects rather than heavy objects. Obviously it can take the weight, but the range obviously is then affected, so. Just start to see the coast after these clouds, I believe. I'm starting to get a glimpse of it. Yep, there it is. For anyone who's wondering, these are just default clouds in X-Plane. I'm only using Active Sky. I have lots of people who recommend me all of these different clouds and they say try this, try this, try this, it's really good. But in my personal own experience on X-Plane, I've found the default clouds to be the most immersive in loads of different varieties. I just think the design of them is quite nice. I mean, I know loads of people are looking for those Rex type of clouds and stuff, but truthfully I think they actually offer quite a nice immersion within the sim. Also the fact that you're able to properly cloud surf with these type of clouds and enter the clouds as well, so your entire display would become completely, obviously it would be limited visibility, it would be completely closed as you go into the cloud layer, and obviously as you descend the other side you would come out like you would in real life. You would have your visibility back. I always used to have some issues in P3D where when you would descend through the cloud, you would never go through the cloud. The cloud would just kind of dissipate as you descend through. It was really strange. I don't know why. I'm not sure if it was just a glitch. Some people have told me it's been fixed now in newer versions, so that must be a plus. But no, something that I do enjoy is definitely having those nice clouds. Quickly just go to ATIS, and we're going to update our ATIS again because we got that at 852, so 931. So the winds are now 3001, so the winds have got a bit worse. Now we did plan for runway 23, I believe, today. Looking at the flight plan. Bit of an interesting arrival. It kind of takes us north and then expects us to go down, so we probably will have to vector ourselves in finally at the end. We probably will stick with runway 23, but we were just exploring the possibility, only exploring I guess, of using the other runway, using runway 05, because obviously the winds are changing slightly. But no, we are still going to stay with 230 because that would be the safer option, because that gives us a 70-degree course to where the winds are. If we were to take runway 5, it would be almost 100 degrees, so I think it would be safer if we land 2-3. Either way, it's going to be an interesting approach. It's probably going to be a crosswind arrival, and yeah, we should be okay, though the weight should kind of balance for it. Just passing over Aldeburgh, and we're about to leave the coast now. She is absolutely stunning, this plane. It's amazing how she flies just so smoothly considering the size of her. And some of the liveries that IniBuilds have made as well are brilliant. I even saw the other day that someone made a Qatar cargo livery already. Someone's made a Boeing Dreamlifter, of course. But yeah, some of the liveries that are coming out of the hangar at the moment are pretty interesting, especially for this plane. Not too far from Redfern now, and then obviously in a second we're going to start our channel crossing, which, to be honest, we have already begun as of now. Wave the UK goodbye. And I think in real life they actually do operate this flight. I think they do take fuselages from, well, maybe not fuselages, maybe it's wings, I'm not sure, maybe someone who actually knows this specifically would be able to clarify in a bit more detail, but I think they do transfer like fuselages and wings and stuff from Chester to sorry, had a mind blank there, to Hamburg. And obviously there they would do the assembly line for some of the short haul aircraft, and then they would be assembled there and do what they need to do over there, so it's an interesting thing to note. There's a lot of cargo going into a lot of places. But Hamburg, yeah, definitely is one of them. So our ground speed has gone down a little bit. It's gone down to 408. We're making a left turn in a few minutes. And that will probably give us a bit more of a headwind than I would presume, slash crosswind from the left, so yeah, a bit of an interesting factor. It could slow us down a little bit, but I'm not too worried at the moment. Flight is going pretty well so far though, no issues. Some people, they jump into the plane and away they go. Some people, maybe not as easy. I was going to stream this video yesterday, but I just wanted to take just a little bit of time just to familiarise myself with everything, because a lot of people do just jump straight into the plane and here we go, and in the future I will try and do that, because I feel like it will add more of a realism effect, as me and anybody who's watching would kind of be in the seat for the first time watching this aircraft if they haven't seen it before, so maybe it would be more beneficial to that level. But no, with this plane I just wanted to make sure that she does fly okay, and she is capable of flying, and indeed she is. And it actually is a great plane to use. Most people are not really interested when it comes to a Beluga or something like that, but when IniBuilds announced it, everybody kind of went a bit crazy for it, because it's something that is very uncommon, and it's very uncommon to have an aircraft like that brought to a simulator in this much depth and immersion within itself. So hats off to IniBuilds again. And hats off to IniBuilds with the A300 as well, because you already know that that's going to be insane when that releases from the shots that they've shown. I just really hope now in the next month or so, maybe even a bit longer than that, I'm sure we can wait, but it would be really nice to see IniBuilds drop a little bomb of something more in-depth on the A380, something that we haven't seen yet. Because at the moment I feel like this is a production line and IniBuilds are kind of moving the A380 further and further down the line, and they have loads of things in front, which I can understand as well, because they're trying to get the best out of their team and what they can deliver to the aircraft. And as you've seen what they've done with the A300s and the A310, which is coming out as well, it's going to be something special, hopefully. I'm sure they won't rush it, and I'm sure they will take the right steps to make sure that it leaves the hangar in style. We're about 3 DME, I just spotted that now from Redfer, so we are momentarily about to make our left turn. Shadows are being a lot nicer for me today. Anyone of you who knows, shadows sometimes can be a bit of a pain on X-Plane. Pardon the rhyme, but it's true. I know that X-Vision have released V2 recently, and I know that does like change some shaders and different things like that, but I believe with Vulkan, I don't think it actually opens up the core like shaders for X-Vision to work with, just with the way how Vulkan is made and how it's rendered. I just think it takes a lot more time to actually make, I think it actually just takes a lot more time in general, to be honest, for all of those shaders to be made and implemented in the sim, so hopefully we will get there one day, one step at a time in the right direction. speed is slightly starting to get affected as we reached probably the middle of the channel now. Almost the other side. Probably got about another 40, well actually you have another 80 to go before we reach Spy, so maybe a few moments. Cool little handy feature here as well that IniBuilds also added is just the ability to click here and it gets rid of your yoke. Very handy if you need to somewhat access this panel or click something here you can, and then when you're done you can just bring it back, so very handy. Speed is slowly getting a bit affected. Looks like the wind is getting a bit stronger as we head further north. You can see on the display now that we're getting closer to the arrival route that we'll be taking. According to the FMC, it wants us to start our descent in exactly 160 nautical miles. So we will probably have to do a bit of a guesstimate on that, because again, this aircraft does not have a VNAV profile. It's depicting us on the A310's performance and profile. So we will have to decide when we think it's reasonable to start our descent. We will be doing a vector approach as well, so we will probably take that into account. But no, we will probably start setting up very soon. In fact, we could probably have a look at our arrival now. We are getting close to Hamburg. We have 5 DME from Tulip, so go to Echo Delta Hotel India. There's no stars apparently. When checking my flight plan, it said it wanted us to take the Ribza 1 Bravo arrival on ILS runway 23. But it does have the transition for Ribza there, so unfortunately I have a bit of an issue with my stars there, so I'll have to double check what's happened there, but it looks like actually it may have put the arrival in already. It's been a very long time since I've flown to Hamburg, and I believe that is actually correct, so we will check that as it needs to be, and probably zoom that in again. Let's see where we're going. So Revla, Soren, Ribso, and then HI 620, and 632, 633, 3425, 655. Interesting. So it kind of wants us to arrive in that regard. So 657. And then it wants us to take 35 to Hamburg. And then runway 23 like that. Okay, so that's a pretty straightforward arrival. It just basically takes us round downwind and then turns us final. So that should be pretty handy for us. We'll change that back to what we had it on. We're now 28 nautical miles from Spy, and that will be just the coastline there we're approaching now. Looking at the takeoff approach page, landing config is already set at 136, but again we don't follow the FMC landing speeds because again it's incorrect because of the profile performance. So here on the takeoff page, sorry I have to keep moving because the throttle's so high, but there's a little landing button here and you can click it and it will change the landing card to, it will change the takeoff card to the landing card, and then it will give you actual VREF and V-approach speeds. Now I think that V-approach wants 136, but on here you can see the V-approach is actually 131. If I was to add 5 it would be 136 as the VREF, so we should probably be good with a 131 arrival. We'll probably keep it set as that. Last time we used Max and it was very effective. We'll probably just set auto brake medium for this landing. I know I'm setting up kind of early, but that's okay. It's always better to be early rather than late on that matter. Looking at the METAR again, it's updated again. The winds are now 320 at 10. There's a few clouds at 1,500, broken at 3,500, broken at 19,000 feet. Temperature is 3 degrees, dew point is -1, QNH 1020. So, we've got a bit of interesting arrival, or interesting weather for our arrival, shall we say. And you can kind of see that we're arriving into that cloud now. You see a bit of the Netherlands below us, a bit of Amsterdam, wherever it is, around us. Actually, I believe if we're passing Spy, it should just be there on the right now. But again, there's a lot of clouds, so a bit of a pain. It's going pretty well though. We've been in the air now for, it says 58 minutes, but let's probably deduct 5 minutes from that, so let's say 53 for the time that it took us to push and leave the hangar and start the engines and get everything ready. There we go, the VOR is picking up now as we get closer. Here we go, it's now 10 GME. So 5 DME from Spy, and then we've got another 80 nautical miles until we get to Eel, and then I presume it's about 160. It's updated our top of descent again for us to descend around Revla. Obviously we will keep that into consideration as we get closer. Start our left turn now. So we have about 30 minutes to go before we land. Getting fairly close as we work our way north now. Our ground speed is still dropping because that wind is picking up. We're now getting even more of a crosswind from a northwesterly direction, and it's even more now. It's gone up to 30 knots, so it's definitely affecting us a bit more. Not to worry. The aircraft is still stable at 270. The N1 is good, around 86. So we're just approaching 30 nautical miles now from Bruni, and that's when we'll make our right turn, and that will obviously line us up for the arrival waypoints as we slowly get there. Normally there would be a lot more to show in the aircraft, but obviously to the fact that we're in cruise, we're kind of limited due to the door behind us being pressurized, so we can't actually leave. That would be a very bad idea if we did anyway. I mean, non-realism wise, I can just quickly go up to the cargo hold and show you that the actual fuselage itself does remain in the aircraft for the entire flight. So it won't move position, it won't leave, it will literally stay in your aircraft like you're transporting the cargo. And when we get to the other side in Hamburg, we will unload the cargo. We're going to also turn the lights off as well. I forgot to turn those off before we took off. You can tell the immersion and the PBR, the way how the lights really make a difference in the cabin. It's very cool how they've done it. So 20 nautical miles, we're getting closer now. The speed is still going down, it's dipping down, but when we get to Bruni we're going to turn right again, and hopefully that should end up being a bit more of a crosswind, I want to say, instead of it being more of a headwind, but we will see. Maybe the speed will still go down again. At about 160 nautical miles until the runway, and we're just between 80 to 100 nautical miles away from the top of the set, so everything is good so far. Just need to keep an eye. And I will be back momentarily. Okay, so we are 16 nautical miles from Durbach, and we are exactly 80 nautical miles from top of descent from what the FMC is telling us. Again, we need to kind of make a guesstimate on what our routing is going to be for the arrival. But we should be able to work that out as we go along. The good thing with this aircraft is that we are quite heavy, so it'll be a good amount of drag to have. Winds are still stable, 32010. So anyone who didn't see the news that came out recently, Airfield Canada, who used to be called, I believe, Canada for XP, I think they changed their name. They just recently released their rendition of Halifax Stanfield International Airport in Canada, Charlie Yankee Hotel Zulu, which of course is a very well-known airport for people who like to fly out of Heathrow and Gatwick. I believe WestJet were operating the 737 MAX on that flight. Of course, until complications struck, but now that is starting to kind of drift away as they bring the aircraft back into service very slowly. We are nearing our top of descent now as we get closer and closer. Again, this flight isn't too long, as you are probably aware. Very nice little hop for the Beluga. And again, if you do have the plane, I definitely recommend you go and check out all the different things that you can obviously transport cargo wise, because it is very, very cool, all of the different things that they provide with the aircraft. And I can only presume that people will start to make custom 3D objects and different things to transport, and then that will maybe become available as a mod per se. Maybe IniBuilds will explore the possibility of having modded objects that you can bring on board the Beluga, so you can bring all type of freights from around the world, which I think would definitely open up a bigger category for the flight sim users to enjoy more of the aircraft overall when you look at some of the things that it does have. So our wind is much better now. We're getting 432 ground speed, we've got 40 knots. We've got still a bit of a crosswind, but it's more of a tailwind now coming from that direction, which is very handy. So yeah, we probably will be starting our descent in the next 40 nautical miles. I like to start it around the same time as the actual top of descent vertical profile, and then normally take it manually myself. Of course you will have to in this aircraft, because as you can see the VNAV switch is completely inoperable, so we will be doing a vertical speed descent. We could again choose flight level change and use that for our landing today, but with the amount of drag that this aircraft offers, especially when you're flying in the air, and especially on descent, it will just descend you fairly quick, considering where you may need to be. So if you would like to descend yourself to a certain altitude, you'll probably find yourself arriving at that altitude before you're even near that waypoint on the Beluga in flight level change, just due to the excessive drag that it does have. Got about 10 minutes now, according to our resources. 10 minutes until we arrive into Hamburg, but I presume it's going to be a little bit longer than that. I'll probably say it'll be about another 20 minutes before we arrive on the ground. And I've got a bug that's flying around in the room that I'm recording at the perfect moment, which is always beneficial. Starting to get to that time of year already. Pretty crazy to think we're already in March. Before you know it, it'll be April again. So looking at everything there, we're all good for the arrival. If we really wanted to, because we've just updated our arrival, we could go back to the ACARS menu and we could request again a wind data request, and that will probably just give us the winds for the last part of our flight. Sometimes it doesn't always work because some of the last waypoints never really get put in, but if we just insert that wind data, that's obviously going to give us the best accuracy for our landing. You can see you've got the sat phone here. I'm going to say they really have done a tremendous job with this. And I believe there is even a way of you saving your own presets now as well in this aircraft. I haven't got round to doing that straight away, but I know that there is a way of being able to go into comms. Oh, there we go. Comms in there, so if you were to be online and you wanted to do 122.8 as Unicom on VATSIM, and you wanted that as a preset, you could / and then do P1, like so, and then you could save it here. And then that means when I go to the tune page and I am, for example, on 126.825, which I think is Gatwick Director, I think it is anyway, 126.825, and then they tell you to go to Unicom instead of you typing in 122.8, you just literally put P1, enter, and boom, that's it, done. 122.8, pretty cool. The same with the ILS as well. You can actually change the ILS, and you know what, we'll do an example with Hamburg, so we'll actually get I'll get the ILS information now for the runway. So according to that, the ILS is 108.50. So I presume on here you would do 108.50 / so it's 231. Whoops, we pressed the wrong page. I don't know if I've screwed that now. Hang on. I may have to just get rid of that and bring it back to the ILS page. So it was 1085231. So 1085231. And then I believe you would then want to put the name of the airport that you're flying into, so I think it's XFW. That would be the way that you would obviously input it into the FMC, and then I think you have an option to do it there, but again I think I'm doing it incorrectly. There's someone who probably can point that out the way I'm doing it wrong, but I haven't read in all the documentation yet. But we can set that manually, as we have done there, 1085231, and then when we go back to the tune page it is there and it is set up. So enough messing around with that, because we will miss our top of descent. And we're about 40 nautical miles away from the runway. Now our top of descent is coming, so we will probably wind this down to our last waypoint on the route, which is going to be flight level... wants us to be at flight level 70 by 657, then it wants us to be plus 4,000 and then 3,000 at TAMAP, so we probably have a choice there. We could probably wind it down to 7,000 to begin with, as we've done there. I think the bug has been sorted. Okay, so everything does look ready for the descent, so what we can do is we can bring our speed down to 260, and what we'll do is we'll start our descent now, go down initially to 1,800 feet vertical speed. Here we go. So we may have left it a little bit too late, to descend, but we will honestly make that time and that altitude up on the descent, so nothing to worry about too much. It's good that we reduced that speed. We needed it down to 0.65. We're still at around 420 knots on the ground speed, and we have 42 still on the tailwind side of things. So we should hopefully be alright now. If we want to, we can continue that rate of descent to 2,000, and you'll see now we're only descending at 2,000 feet per minute, and the aircraft is still using 61% N1 to keep us level. So if you really need to descend the aircraft, it will be able to handle it. It will just reduce the speed it will reduce the percentage of the N1, and the speed will just come down drastically. I guess this is where the drag comes into play. Okay, so I'm going to be a bit of a crazy one now and do an even further descent. And the aircraft should be able to handle it fairly well. So 210. Approaching almost. Now I'm gonna actually say that we are way too high right now, so we need to descend a bit more. But that's okay, because we get to show off the amazing capabilities of the aircraft and how it descends. We have another 10 DME until we join 632, and then we'll be downwind. And then we'll turn, and at 655 I believe it wants us to be at flight level 90, and then we go 80 and 70, so we literally do just follow it down, approaching the clouds again, so make sure the anti-ice is back on. Very cold tonight in Hamburg. 3206, temperature is 3 degrees now, so it is a bit frosty. With the rate of descent that we are achieving right now, we should be fine. We should reach 15,000 to 14,000 at the next waypoint. 633. Hoping we can aim for 10,000 just before 655, and then that's when we'll continue on the downwind then. Left turn now. Just keeping an eye on that speed. Truthfully, I think that speed will start to come down a little bit as it's going to become a crosswind again, but we're going to keep an eye out. Nav slowly coming up. So I may have been wrong, maybe the actual top of the descent on the aircraft was correct, but from what I've noticed it doesn't really have a correct VNAV profile, so you normally have to decide it yourself yesterday when I flew it into Harden Airport. It was a much smoother descent. I guess it's just something to practice until you get it right. Right, we're going to bring out speed brake now. And watch that speed come down straight away. $13,000 feet. Now if we control this correctly, obviously the speed is going to start trying to come into play, but if we bring the speed itself down now, and we bring it down to 230, actually making that right turn already, so it was fairly quick. We've got another 5 DME. I'm not too worried at the moment because the speed is going to slowly bleed off there as we continue the left turn. Bring out that speed brake a little bit more now. We're approaching 10,000 feet. We can probably just set this up just so we're ahead of the game here. So we'll set our QNH to be 1020. Set at the other side. 1020. Okay, so landing lights can come on. Temperature is -4. Anti-ice is going to stay on. 8,000 feet, and now it really is a race against the time. So we can bring that speed. Vertical speed, sorry, down a little bit now. And what we'll do is we'll also bring in the speed brake, and we can just follow the arrival of what it wants us to do now. So from 656 it wanted us to be at 081, which we have just passed, just above. We can now really slow down the rate of climb, as we can see that the glide slope has already kind of picked up with us a little bit. Approaching 7,000. We can probably bring that down now to 4,000 feet. 657 we were supposed to stay at 7,000, so what we'll do is we'll bring the vertical speed up to about 1,100. About 20 DME from the runway, so we want to keep at least 240 knots on the speed there. We want to have as much speed as possible, because as soon as we start to slow down we're just going to lose that momentum of getting towards the ground. So that is out, that's all good. 6,000 and the QNH is set, and I believe transition here is 5,000 feet, but I could be wrong. Left turn. The ILS is coming into play. There's still 25 DME from the runway. The rate of descent really can come back to even 900 feet a minute. We're not really too fussed about the descent now. We just want to make sure that we're not slowing down too quick. See the glide slope is slowly catching up now, but we will gradually reduce our speed, which will change the glide slope as well, so we have to keep all of that. So we are just approaching 4,000 now, and we're going to localize with the runway in a few seconds. is all good and working. Our speed is really coming back up, but it's okay. We're 20 from the runway, approaching 4,000 feet. Glide slope is now slowly starting to take effect. Bring it down to 230, that's stable, and then slowly bring itself back down. I'll probably stay at 4,000 feet because we can probably benefit from the longer glide slope coming into play there. Hopefully we can try and lock on both of them at the same time. Checking the winds, it's 3206, so the winds are changing again, and we've just had a breakthrough with the cloud, there we go. Okay, so we're about to lock on, so we can go land. Just going to bring the localizer into play. About 13 DME from the runway, so we're going to bring our speed down to about 190. And we'll probably select our first setting of flap just for the descent. We'll wait until we descend through 230, 22, activate the flap. The winds have really changed on us now. We're getting about a 22 knot crosswind. Still at 4,000 feet, so maybe when we get down to the ground it won't be as intense, but right now the aircraft is trying to handle it right now. Speed is still coming down, we're about 10 DME, getting a lot of push on the plane there. It's a bit of a windy day here at Hamburg. Feet. And the runway is now in sight. 8 DME, we can probably start setting up a bit more now, so we bring our flaps properly. Bring our speed down to 160. Our landing speed is going to be 120. Okay. So we probably could set 129 plus 5 there. 134 would be good. We're at 2,000 feet. Our speed is still at 180, but you'll see that it will start to come down. And as soon as I put the gear down, which we'll put now, 5 DME, gear down. There we go. Gear is down. Speed is slowly coming to that limit there, which we will have to keep an eye on. Bring flaps down again, and that's going to give us a bit of room there for movement. And we're close to 4 DME, we can put our last setting of flap, which it is. Probably turn the anti-ice off now, we don't really need it. It's +4, we should be okay. And now it's time to land in Hamburg. Speed brake is armed, landing lights Thrust is set. Gear is down. Let's see how we do. 700 feet still. Still a bit windy, but we'll be okay. I'm going to just take over manual throttle myself. Actually, I need to disconnect the auto throttle button actually. I was not concentrating, we're way too low. Just trying to hold that up, that nose. Yeah, we're way too low. I need to watch the speed as well.
100.
Don't want to overshoot it, but I was way too low there because I was not concentrating. There we go.
40. 30. 20.
And she is a floater again today.
10.
10.
5.
Here we go. It was a very late landing, probably would have gone around in real life, but do you know what? I knew we were going to make it, so okay there. Decel 80 knots, 60 knots. Manual. That's manual braking. 40 knots. 25. We can disconnect the clock. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hamburg. And now it's time to show you the cool thing that I've been hiding for the whole of this video. And I'm sure a few of you have probably had this idea, but I just thought of it yesterday and I thought what a good idea it would be. That's why I'm showcasing it today. So we're gonna quickly turn around on the runway and we will quickly go and vacate off runway 23, even though we're the other side, 105, so make sure we make that turn. We have, we've got a beautiful bit of PBR there on the display, very nice. Aircraft is all good there. Starting to get a bit dark, we can turn the terrain radar off now. As you can see, Hamburg is pretty straightforward. We'll just be vacating here on the left. Just want to watch out for that wind again, of course, because the wind keeps pushing us off the centre line. We'll probably turn our TCAS to... Actually, we should have put it on TA only. There we go. So, 25 knot taxi in a Beluga, not bad. Start to slow down now. Well, I'm a bit unhappy with that landing, but I guess it will have to do. Practice makes perfect. It was a new plane, so our arrival yesterday was pretty much the same landing rate, but I didn't float it the same way. Seems like it was a bit heavier for us to kind of get down today. Definitely does seem like a bit of a floater. Also, the throttle on this is really efficient as well. It's superb. Now I'm using the default scenery today, Hamburg. This was uploaded to the org I think about a month or two ago. I think this is the one that mainly all users I see who are using the Beluga, they're using this one currently. Now the difference is on this one is I've added something with a little finesse on it, as you can see, as we turn the nose. This is what I was talking about. Only the scenery that comes with this aircraft only has this facility, but I managed to find a way how to add it to the scenery as well and Toulouse, so I'm able to use this facility wherever I go. So I can now just go to SAM, go to airports, and as you can see there are two controls that I've added. I can close that, and now the doors will open as you see in front of us. By the time we get to the hangar itself, we should be able to park in like normal, and then we will commence our deloading of the fuselage. And it just works a bit better like that, instead of you having to be outside or you being just on a remote stand doing it. It just kind of adds that next level of immersion, because I feel that's why so many people are flying to Harden, is because it has this facility, but the fact that you can practically have it anywhere you want is very good. It's very handy. Okay, so we're approaching the center line now. Now I do like to be different from this and just have a look outside, because of course in real life you probably have a pushback driver who would do this, but truthfully today I'm just going to do it. Just have to line up the center line like so, and then when we reach the end, like so, set the parking brake, and the end one has gone down, and then we will close our doors in a second. So what we'll do is we'll just double check that that's all good. We'll end our flight. I am the 42nd person to arrive into Hamburg today, apparently, which just shows you how many people have flown in recently. Our flight time was 1 hour and 32 minutes, and it was 1 hour and 50 from gate to gate, so pretty handy. Like normal on my videos, I do like to show you the replays, because why not? We've just obviously watched it from my view. Now you can watch it from a different view. Probably set it at the tower view there. I was way too low for this approach. I was too busy focusing on trying to get rid of the manual thrust message, but I obviously clocked that that needs to be done on the auto throttle itself. Probably not the best thing to worry about when you're on short final, but not a bad rendition of Hamburg for default. You can really sense in the replay as well how heavy the bird is that you're bringing down. Oh, PBR there was very nice. As you can see, I floated it for way too long, but the runway is very long, so not too bad. There we go. Got her down. And again, the braking force on this aircraft is very strong. It honestly does slow down very efficiently and very quickly. Now the runway lights just come on. It's amazing Airbus operating these aircraft every single day, really. just the Beluga in itself is a great feat of aeronautical engineering. And so we will quickly hop up to the station line, and you will see that in the replay, this is what I really like about the replay as well with X-Plane, is that it will literally replay everything. So as you can see now, as we approach, the doors are closed, but if we were to come a bit closer to the station line, you would see that around here I started to show you the SAM menu, and I also showed you the features with the doors. So in replay now, it should show me opening the doors in the same time as I did in the sim, which it is doing now. So it's very handy if you kind of like to replay your work and you like to see it in that regard, you can, because obviously the aircraft will work that way, and so will obviously the building, which is very handy. And you can see number 5 arriving now. I don't know why there's a British Airways 777 here, very interesting. There's even a cargo jet. Oh man, Air Berlin and Tornado, got the whole gang here. Some nice PDR on the building there as well, it's pretty nice. So here we go. I probably should have turned that taxi light off, but it's not the end of the world. And that explains where the PBR is coming from. So we can slowly, well I say slowly, we'll quickly speed that up just so she is in the hangar. And there she is, parking brake is set, so we can now toggle the replay mode. We can make sure that the parking brake is set, and we'll do what we always do, we'll go to SAM, airport, and we'll now close the doors. And that should start to shut down on the aircraft. We'll go to external power, and we don't really need to worry just about anything for a second. We'll turn those lights off, don't want to blind anyone else. And let's shut number 1 and shut number 2. Turn our TCAS off. Engines are now running down, and you'll see outside they're starting to run off as the doors start to close on the aircraft. And there we go. The aircraft is in the hangar, the door is selected, and we'll now request the loader. And we'll turn off the beacon light, and we now have a message telling us that the main cargo door not closed, of course, because we've just opened it. You can turn the fuel pumps off, you can turn the window heat off, and that's pretty much everything on the aircraft turned off for our flight. I think we can just unlock the, oh of course the cockpit door is inoperable, okay. And then what we'll do is we'll just turn off the IRS as well. And now we should be able to go behind and open this door. And you can hear straight away that they're opening the door upstairs. We'll just quickly open that. We'll open the hatch, climb up the hatch, and you can see the door is already almost there really. If we wanted to, we can just turn the lights on in here just to allow a bit more light. We've got a fire extinguisher here, which is probably smaller than an infant, let's be honest, and look at the size of the aircraft. I mean, I don't think that's really going to do any damage. As you can see here, you could literally just move yourself onto the ramp here. I know it's a bit louder, but in real life it would be. And even there you can see the actual cockpit. I believe you probably could move things as well in there, which is a bit interesting. Very interesting how the sound changes like that as we go inside. It's much quieter. I'm just going to wait for the loader to connect to the aircraft. Here we go. So it takes a bit longer for the loader to connect to the aircraft. Obviously in real life they would probably take this long as well, just to make sure that everything is correctly linked with the aircraft. As you can imagine, you are basically about to put some extreme load or weight even onto either part on the aircraft going to the loader or from the loader going to the aircraft, so you need to make sure that everything is symmetrical and in place so there are no malfunctions, because if there is one thing out of line then it could be very damaging to the aircraft itself. Of course the Beluga itself has a very, very lower nose. If you look at the front of the aircraft, it hangs down very far forward and just shows the extreme weight put on the aircraft itself. But the loader has almost connected to the aircraft now. I would probably just give it another 10 seconds or so and it should be locked onto the plane. And as you can see, it's in motion right now, so you can see the loader is still in motion, but once it is locked into the aircraft, these two options will then become available. Obviously unload is available because we already have the fuselage loaded in, so we can press unload now. And we'll quickly cheat and just go upstairs just so I can show you. We probably should just close this hatch just in case. It will be fairly loud again, sorry, I'm going to move over here just so it's a bit quieter. You should be able to see now. There we go. That new fuselage being brought into the terminal. Or into the warehouse, should I say, not the terminal. And it's still intact, which is a good thing. I didn't destroy it. And there we go. The loader has pretty much completed what it's needed to do. Should stop halfway. And there we have it. The loader has deloaded the cargo that we had, and we can now... Normally there is an option to remove the loader, but I believe now that obviously we've loaded and obviously unloaded the aircraft, I presume you can just reset it now, so I don't think you can remove the loader. So when you're done you can just press reset as such, and there we go. We have successfully done our first flight in the Beluga. I want to thank you again for watching. If you did obviously peek in and have a look every now and then, I know that obviously I didn't expect a huge amount of people to be on it, this stream just yet. Obviously my first live stream, I just wanted to make sure how things could kind of play out, as this is all a bit new. I'm normally used to just doing videos, but the idea of live streaming is a bit easier in workload as well, and kind of getting content out to you guys, as you can see it live and it's there on the channel for anyone to enjoy who missed it, so something definitely beneficial. I will have a look at doing some more live streams soon. But I really do hope that you enjoyed this video, of course. If there are any questions or anything that you'd like to ask, always feel free to shoot me a message and I will definitely reply. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to subscribe and stay tuned for more content like this one. If you do have any ideas, again, you can always let me know and I will definitely take that into consideration. But for the meantime, I do hope you all have a great evening. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.